The extraordinary journey of Ali Khamenei, a quiet boy from a poor religious family who became one of the most powerful leaders on earth, and how his beliefs, struggles, and decisions changed an entire country forever. Imagine a small boy sitting on a dusty floor. He is reading a very old book. Outside, the streets are noisy and busy. But this boy does not look up. He just keeps reading. That boy grew up to lead a country of 90 million people. He made decisions that changed the Middle East forever. His name is Ali Khamenei. This is his story. The year was 1939. The month was July. In northeastern Iran, a baby boy was born. His name was Ali. His family lived in a city called Mashhad. Mashhad is one of the most sacred cities in all of Iran. Every year, millions of visitors travel there. They come to pray and seek blessings. Ali was born into this deeply spiritual place. His father was a religious teacher and scholar. He had studied Islamic texts for most of his life. The family was not wealthy at all. They had very little money. They owned no fancy things. Their home was modest and plain. But their home was full of something else. It was full of knowledge, prayer, and purpose. Ali had several siblings around him. Brothers and sisters filled the small home. The children learned to respect religion from birth. Prayer was not a choice in this household. It was simply part of life itself. From a very young age, Ali was different. Other children played in the streets outside. Ali preferred to sit and read quietly. He was drawn to books like a magnet. He asked questions that surprised older people. His father noticed this about him early. He began teaching Ali personally at home. He taught him how to read Arabic. He showed him how to understand the Quran. The Quran is the holy scripture of Islam. It is written in classical Arabic language. Understanding it takes years of serious study. But young Ali absorbed it quickly and deeply. He had a remarkable memory and sharp mind. People in the neighborhood noticed this child. They said he was special and gifted. His parents believed he had a great future. They were right. When Ali was old enough, he entered formal religious education. In Iran, religious schools are called madrasas. These schools are very different from ordinary schools. Students there do not study mathematics or science primarily. They study Islamic law, Quranic interpretation, and religious history. They learn how to think like scholars and leaders. Ali entered this world with great enthusiasm and energy. He was not there to simply pass tests. He genuinely loved what he was studying every day. His teachers saw his passion and encouraged it. They gave him extra books and extra tasks. He welcomed every single challenge with open arms. As a young teenager, Ali heard about a special city. The city was called Qom. Qom sits in the center of Iran. It is the heart of Islamic scholarship in the country. The greatest religious minds in Iran gathered there. Students traveled from distant places just to study there. Ali made the journey to Qom as a young man. He was ready to learn at a higher level. Arriving in Qom was like entering another world entirely. Everywhere he looked, scholars were walking and debating. Libraries were full of ancient and precious texts. Classrooms buzzed with serious religious discussion daily. Ali sat in the front row always. He listened with total focus and concentration. He wrote notes carefully and asked thoughtful questions. But the most important moment came when he met a teacher. That teacher's name was Ali Khamenei. Khamenei was not just any teacher or scholar. He was a towering figure in Iranian religious life. His ideas were bold, radical, and deeply serious. Most religious scholars in Iran focused only on religion. They left politics to politicians and rulers. Khomeini believed something completely different and revolutionary. He believed religious leaders must also govern the country. He believed Islamic law should be the law of the land. This was a powerful and controversial idea at the time. Ali Khamenei heard these ideas and felt something shift inside. It was like a door opening inside his mind. He believed in what Khomeini was saying completely. He became one of Khomeini's most devoted and trusted students. He studied under him for years with great dedication. Dedication means giving everything you have to a purpose. Ali also traveled beyond Iran for his education. He went to Najaf, a holy city inside Iraq. Najaf is deeply significant for Shia Muslims worldwide. Great Islamic scholars had studied and taught there for centuries. Ali spent time learning from scholars in Najaf too. He built relationships with religious thinkers from many places. He expanded his understanding far beyond just Iranian perspectives. These years of travel and study were transformative. Transformative means they changed him in a deep and permanent way. He was no longer just a talented student from Mashhad. He was becoming a genuine scholar and leader in his own right. When Ali Khamenei returned to Iran, something important was waiting. His country was in trouble and tension. Iran was ruled by a king called the Shah. The Shah's full name was Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. He had held power for many years by then. The Shah lived a life of extraordinary luxury and wealth. His palaces were enormous and beautifully decorated. His parties were famous around the world for extravagance. But most ordinary Iranians lived very difficult lives. Many were poor, struggling, and deeply frustrated. The Shah also had very close ties with Western nations. He welcomed American businesses and American influence warmly. He wanted Iran to modernize in a Western style. Many religious Iranians strongly disagreed with this direction. They felt their culture and values were being pushed aside. They felt foreign powers were controlling their beloved country. The Shah also maintained a feared secret intelligence force. This organization was known throughout Iran as Savak. Savak watched citizens closely and monitored their activities. People who criticized the Shah faced serious and dangerous consequences. They could be arrested, imprisoned, or worse. Many people were terrified of Savak agents. They whispered their real opinions only to close family. They were afraid to speak openly in public spaces. But Ali Khamenei was not afraid to speak out. He stood in front of crowds and delivered passionate speeches. He told people the government had lost its moral direction. He spoke about justice, dignity, and Islamic values openly. He spread the teachings and ideas of his mentor Khomeini. Khomeini had been forced to leave Iran by the Shah. He was living in exile, far away from his homeland. But his ideas were still reaching Iranians through people like Khamenei. Savak took notice of Ali Khamenei very quickly. They began watching him and monitoring his movements closely. Then they acted. Khamenei was arrested for the first time. He was taken to prison by government security forces. Prison conditions were harsh and very difficult to endure. He was kept in a cell with little comfort. He was questioned and pressured by interrogators repeatedly. They wanted him to stop his activities and stay silent. He refused every single time without hesitation. When they released him, he went right back to work. He gave more speeches and organized more gatherings. He was arrested again, then released, then arrested again. This cycle repeated itself multiple times over the years. Some people might have broken under this kind of pressure. Some people would have chosen silence to protect themselves. Khamenei chose a different path every time. He chose to keep speaking and keep organizing no matter what. He was arrested at least 6 times during this difficult period. Each time he came out of prison, he returned stronger. People around Iran began to know his name and story. His courage made people admire and respect him deeply. He became a symbol of resistance and moral strength. Young people especially looked up to him with great admiration. By the late 1970s, Iran was a pressure cooker ready to explode. People from all walks of life were angry and fed up. Workers, students, merchants, and religious communities united together. They all wanted the Shah gone and replaced. Protests began spreading across cities and towns throughout Iran. Crowds in the streets grew larger every single week. The Shah tried everything to hold on to his power. He promised reforms and changes to calm the anger. He used his security forces to try to stop protests. Nothing worked anymore. The people would not be silenced or stopped now. In January of 1979, the unthinkable finally happened. The Shah packed his belongings and left Iran forever. He flew out of Tehran airport and never returned home. An extraordinary chapter in Iranian history had come to an end. A new one was about to begin immediately. Weeks after the Shah departed, Ayatollah Khamenei came home. He flew back to Iran from Paris, France, where he had been living. His plane landed at Tehran's international airport. What happened next was absolutely astonishing and breathtaking. Millions of Iranians flooded the roads and open spaces. They stood on rooftops and climbed onto walls. They wept, they cheered, and they prayed out loud together. It was one of the most emotional scenes in Iranian history. Khomeini stepped off the plane onto his homeland again. He had been away for many years in painful exile. Now he was home, and his people surrounded him with love. Iran would never be the same again after that day. The new Islamic Republic of Iran was officially born. Religious law became the official governing system of the country. Khomeini became the first supreme leader of this new republic. Ali Khamenei had fought hard for this revolutionary moment. He had suffered prison and pain to help reach this day. Now, in the new government, his moment had truly arrived. He was given serious roles and important responsibilities immediately. He joined the Revolutionary Council that helped govern Iran initially. He helped establish the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps organization. This military force would grow to become enormously powerful in Iran. He also served as the Friday prayer leader in Tehran. Every Friday, he would stand before thousands of gathered worshippers. He would speak about both religion and the direction of the nation. This platform gave him immense reach and influence over people. Khamenei was no longer just a resistance figure or activist. He was now a builder and a governing leader. He was helping construct an entirely new nation from the ground up. In 1981, Ali Khamenei was elected president of Iran. This was a monumental moment in his personal journey. He was now the official head of the Iranian government. He ran the country's daily affairs and administration directly. But almost immediately, he faced a nightmare situation. Iran was already at war with its neighbor Iraq. The conflict had begun in September of 1980. Iraq's leader at the time was a man named Saddam Hussein. Saddam had ordered a full military invasion into Iranian territory. His reasons were partly territorial and partly political calculation. He believed the new revolutionary government in Iran was weak. He thought it would collapse quickly under military pressure. He was badly mistaken in this dangerous assumption. Iran fought back with enormous determination and national passion. The war that followed was brutal beyond description. Brutal means extremely violent, cruel, and deeply destructive. Both nations used missiles, artillery, and chemical weapons. Cities near the border were bombed repeatedly and mercilessly. Entire neighborhoods were reduced to rubble and ash. Families lost fathers, sons, and brothers in the fighting. Hospitals overflowed with wounded soldiers and civilians constantly. The human cost was staggering and heartbreaking on both sides. As president, Khamenei had to keep the nation together during this. He visited soldiers on the front lines of battle regularly. He stood with them in dangerous places under fire. He spoke to them with words of faith and resolve. He wanted them to know their president stood beside them. In 1981, something terrible happened to Khamenei personally. He was attending a meeting at a mosque in Tehran. A bomb had been secretly hidden inside a tape recorder nearby. The device exploded with tremendous force and violence. The explosion seriously damaged and injured his right arm. Doctors worked urgently to save his life after the blast. They managed to keep him alive through emergency surgery. But the damage to his arm was permanent and irreversible. His right arm became paralyzed and could not function properly. Even after this devastating injury, Khamenei did not slow down. He returned to his duties as soon as physically possible. He continued giving speeches, attending meetings, and making decisions. People across Iran marveled at his determination and resilience. Resilience means the ability to recover and keep going after hardship. The war with Iraq dragged on year after terrible year. It finally ended in August of 1988 after 8 long years. Neither side achieved a decisive or clear military victory. Both countries had lost hundreds of thousands of their people. The pain and grief left behind was immeasurable and permanent. Iran was exhausted, but had survived this enormous test of endurance. In early 1989, Ayatollah Khamenei's health began to decline rapidly. He was now very old and suffering from serious illness. People across Iran prayed for their beloved leader's recovery. But no prayers could reverse what was happening naturally. On the 3rd day of June in 1989, Khomeini passed away. The news hit Iran like a thunderbolt from a clear sky. The entire nation stopped breathing for a moment. Millions of people poured into the streets, overcome with grief. Men, women, and children wept openly, without any shame. They had lost the man who had transformed their entire world. Burying him became one of the most chaotic events in Iranian history. The crowd, pressing forward, was so enormous and so overwhelming. Soldiers and officials struggled desperately to maintain any order. But beyond the grief, an urgent question now needed answering. Who would lead the Islamic Republic going forward? This decision fell to a body called the Assembly of Experts. This council is made up of senior religious scholars. They have the formal constitutional authority to choose the supreme leader. They gathered in closed sessions to deliberate and discuss seriously. Several names were considered and debated among the members. Many expected a more senior, religious figure to receive the position. But after careful deliberation and discussion, one name emerged clearly: Ali Khamenei. On June 4, 1989, just one day after Khomeini's death, Khamenei became supreme leader. He went from being president to holding the highest office in Iran. The supreme leader controls the military, the courts, and key institutions. He holds more real power than any president or minister. This was an unexpected and historic appointment that surprised many. Some religious scholars questioned whether he had sufficient religious seniority, but the council trusted his loyalty, his experience, and his character. Along with the appointment came a new religious title. He was now officially recognized as Ayatollah Khamenei. Ayatollah is a very high religious rank in Shia Islam. It means a figure of great learning and religious authority. This title gave his leadership both political and religious legitimacy. From that day forward, he guided both the state and the faith. He has held this position now for more than 35 years. That makes him one of the longest-serving leaders anywhere in the world. As supreme leader, Khamenei shaped how Iran related to other nations. His worldview was clear, consistent, and deeply held from the beginning. He deeply distrusted the United States of America. He believed America used its enormous power to dominate weaker nations. He felt it supported corrupt governments that served American interests. He frequently described the United States as a globally destabilizing force. He was equally critical of Israel and its policies toward Palestinians. He consistently called for support of the Palestinian cause publicly. He considered the Palestinian struggle a matter of Islamic moral duty. Under his leadership, Iran built relationships with several regional groups. Iran provided support to Hezbollah, a powerful organization based in Lebanon. Iran also maintained deep connections with groups in Iraq and Yemen. This regional network became known informally as the Axis of Resistance. It represented forces aligned with Iran's vision and opposing Western influence. Western governments viewed these relationships with alarm and serious concern. The United States and European countries responded by imposing heavy sanctions. Sanctions are economic restrictions that limit trade and financial activity severely. These sanctions made it very difficult for Iran to conduct normal business internationally. Iranian banks struggled to process international transactions and payments. Iranian businesses could not easily import or export goods abroad. Ordinary Iranian citizens felt the economic pain and hardship most directly. Prices for basic goods rose while employment opportunities declined. But Khamenei held firm and did not change his fundamental positions. He said Iran would never surrender its principles under foreign economic pressure. He framed resistance to sanctions as a matter of national dignity. Another major source of global tension was Iran's nuclear program. Iran began developing nuclear technology and infrastructure over many years. Iranian officials consistently stated the program was purely for energy purposes. Western governments suspected Iran was working toward nuclear weapons capability. This disagreement triggered years of intense diplomacy and tense negotiations. International inspectors were invited in, and then access was restricted at times. Multiple rounds of talks happened in cities across Europe and Asia. Agreements were reached, broken, questioned, and renegotiated repeatedly over decades. The nuclear question remained one of the most complex international issues globally. Khamenei never fully resolved this tension during his long years of leadership. Despite its revolutionary origins, the Islamic Republic faced opposition at home. Many Iranians over the decades grew frustrated with the system's restrictions. The government controlled what people could watch, read, and sometimes wear. Women were required to wear the hijab covering their hair in public. Social mixing between unrelated men